Hello everyone. As Fed has been proven wrong on inflation, where they were claiming it to be transitory, but it was sustained. They were claiming it to be less or low, but it was high. So will Fed be proven wrong on supply chain disruptions. As I shared a video yesterday with some charts that usage of office space has fallen off the cliff again um, with this new variant across all major US cities. Um, Similar sort of behavior should be visible all over the world wherever this new variant is causing havoc. And what that means is, issues around labor shortages, issues around transportation, because ports will be locked down, or people will not be available to move stuff either through trains or through trucks. So, and all these things add to supply chains, um, which going forward should be impacted if this variant lasts longer. So yeah, let's go through this article and see what Fed is trying to say. Step aside transitory inflation. The Fed wants to be dead wrong about easing supply chains next. On Tuesday, the New York Fed released a new index meant to evaluate the pressure on global supply chains. The Global Supply Chain Pressure Index surged early in the pandemic when China imposed lockdown measures, but pressures eased as production resumed. When picked Then picked back up during the winter of 2020 as infections jumped. So it's just trying to give a history, how pressure behaved over the last 2 years. The good news, the historically high pressures on global supply chain networks that have contributed to shortages of key goods and materials and a surge in inflation, the same inflation that Fed claimed all along was transitory, mind you, may have peaked. So Fed is trying to say that according to them, um, pressures have peaked and they're going to fall from here. And this is the chart which shows that pressures increased first as the pandemic started, then went down, and now they are back up again. And according to them, this is the peak. More recently, the index seems to suggest that global supply chain pressures, while still historically high, have peaked and might start to moderate somewhat going forward. That's what they're saying. Now, Fed supply chain index is based on 27 variables such as shipping rates and air freight costs between United States, Asia, and Europe. So it's not limited to just shipping and freight, but basically consists of 27 variables. One thing that career academics at New York Fed who have never had to ship any product from point A to point B in the world got right in this index, drawing on data going back to 1997, shows global supply chain pressures are substantially higher now that now than in previous times of stress. Well, that's kind of obvious. Of course, even the Fed can get something right, but more importantly, is it right that global supply chain pressures have peaked and it's all downhill from here? Well, let's look at the evidence. First, as the latest Wells Fargo supply chain pressure index, it's about as ugly as it has ever been across every vertical: time, volume, price, inventory, and labor. So, this is the pressure gauge from Wells Fargo supply chain. And as you can see, until November, December, everything is in red except for this metrics, which is ISM Manufacturing Index, Inventory Index. But other everything else is reddish. So yes, one can easily claim that just because a series that is at all-time high, it is bound to reverse. But one can also be very wrong if that series keeps rising, which incidentally is what the far more likely case because as City Economist wrote at the end of December, there are no signs of easing in supply chain congestions. I 100% agree. And this is the congestion scales from Goldman Sachs, so which is near about 10 as well. And Goldman is also kind enough to point out that weakest link in all projections of improvement is the Chinese New Year. I agree because in China, the new scariant or some scariants cases are spiking and they have started shutting down their cities and the ports. So this fits right into this next news. Ningbo port activity grounds to a halt as China outbreak worsens. The Ningbo is a port city and industrial hub and one of the world's largest ports. And basically, everything has come to halt in Ningbo. And it's not limited to Ningbo. Lockdowns are affecting Xi'an, Yuzhou, along with Ningbo port. So yeah, while Fed is claiming that easing supply chains are going to ease, I don't quite agree with that myself. I think they're going to get worse. And I'll keep you posted on this as well. Please share, subscribe, like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.